My son has those Crocs. I know those Crocs.
So we welcome everyone. This is another historic and exciting day for the great city of Newark. My name is Carmelo Garcia, Acting Deputy Mayor and Director of Economic and Housing Development. We have some amazing speakers here this morning as we bring this amazing project to fruition under the RBH development, Ron Bates and Mayor Ras J. Baraka. As we know, this is one of those transformative projects that is visionary and pioneering to make this part of Newark an incredible, thriving corridor. And one of the fierce servant leaders who was a part of shaping the Living Downtown plan was the incomparable United States Senator Cory Booker.
I want to be brief. I'm really looking forward to hearing from my mayor, Ras Baraka, as well as Ron Bates, this guy that shows up in my office with this incredible vision years ago, over a decade ago, and to see the power of dreams and the power of really what my mayor represents, which is inclusiveness. Everybody has got to be a part. You can't have Newark come back when you're leaving the community behind. I am so proud that this project was done the right way. And I see some of my council colleagues here. We insisted on apprenticeship programs for our youth, local entrepreneurials involved, labor being done by Newark residents. This is really a testimony to the values we have as a community, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. And the one person I just want to single out before I sit down, there's so many people. This was a very complicated project to piece together, and there's a lot of funny stories about trying to get the Capitol stack done. But I would be remiss if I didn't just single out one individual who happens to be his birthday today, one of the unsung heroes of the city of Newark. And I just want to thank the former head of economic development for the city of Newark. His birthday today, we do not have to sing, but it's Adam Zipkin who's here. Where is Adam? Where is Adam? Congratulations, Adam. Congratulations, Newark. And to my mayor, just keep it going, Mayor. Keep it going. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Booker. We appreciate you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us in this incredible public-private partnership that really evidences what's happening in Newark. It's right now seeing $2.6 billion in redevelopment, touching all wards as the mayor continuously ensures that the disinvestment of the past is no longer, and the reinvestment of the present and the future is what's getting it done. So we're really proud to be a part of that. And of course, he is the visionary and progressive leader of our city who is always challenging us and making sure that there's a culture of excellence and execution in bringing these projects to fruition. And that is the Honorable Mayor Ras J. Baraka.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. I swear every time Carmelo does this, I think I'm at a concert or something, man. I feel like starting to sing. But I just want to first thank Senator Booker for his vision and, understanding that it was time to make downtown a neighborhood. And Ron Bates, I always say, was the pioneer in making this stuff happen. Carmelo talked about the amount of money and amount of development that's happening in the city now, and over $2 billion worth of development happening. Just a firestorm that's growing and growing and growing in this city every single day. But before that took place, you had to have folks that say that I believe in doing this when it didn't look like it was going to be very friendly towards me in terms of return on the investments and all the other kinds of things. So you had to have people that were willing to take big risks. And Ron Bates was willing to take those risks and was willing to build this community down here in this neighborhood when many people probably thought that it should not have happened or it could not have happened. And because he did that, many people began to follow that lead and develop in other places in the downtown community, which sparked millions and billions of dollars worth of development in this city and now throughout the community of the city of Newark. The whole entire city is now feeling what is taking place here and began at Teachers Village. So he deserves an incredible round of applause for having a belief in his city. And not only that, the product is a good product. This is a beautiful place. He could have built anything, but it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place to be. It brings character to this part of the city, and it sets a precedent for the way people develop going forward in the city. They just don't put these boxes up. They have to put some real thought into what's happening, and it's taking a minute to get it done, because what's done good is done right. It's done thoughtfully. It takes time and patience to get the right product out. So I just want to applaud him, and we appreciate the work that he's doing here, and the folks that are living in Teachers Village, and all of the amenities that come with it, the retail and everything else that's bursting up because of it. We're so excited in the city of Newark, and I want to applaud the council all the time for being a part of what we're doing here in the community, for making these things happen. Without them, it would not take place. I see Councilwoman Gail Cheneyfield Jenkins here in the Central Ward. Our council president is here, Mildred Crump. Councilman Gonzalez here with us as well. Senator Ruiz, I see with us, and Assemblywoman Pinto Marin as well. All of us together partnering to make sure Newark is an incredible place to be. And it could not happen without NCEDC and our economic development crew over there at City Hall. So we applaud all of our collective efforts. And before I take my seat, I want to say that, you know, the new thing is really, the secret sauce is really collectivity. It's really cooperation and collaboration. It's really about all of us, all the institutions, all the elected officials, the public, private sector, everybody getting together to know what the goal is, where the end zone is, and how to get there, and working together to make that dream happen. And none of this would be possible, of course, without our friends in the state over there who make sure that these things happen all of the time. I'm tired of seeing this guy, but I'm loving him at the same time. He's here all of the time with us, because any project that's done in the city has had the support and the help of the state. So God bless you, and God thank you.
Senator has to leave, so.
So we're going to keep the program moving. Again, we thank United States Senator Cory Booker for joining us. As we know, he has to run back to that busy schedule. Thank you, Cory. And as we continue with the program, we had our county executive, who unfortunately had a last-minute conflict, but we do have the amazing Senator Teresa Ruiz to speak on his behalf.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of our county executive, I just want to echo the same sentiments that you've heard before. The stronger our cities are, the stronger the county is. As your state senator, the stronger the largest city is in the Garden State, the stronger the economy of the state is. But as a Norker, I want to say, for close to 4 decades, it's a little bit more than that, but we'll just leave it at 4 decades. Every time we'd come into downtown, I always said, we just need people living here, and then magic will happen. And Ron Bate is making that magic happen in a very creative way, making spaces for people to live, opening doors for schools to grow and children to learn, commercial retail spaces for small businesses to bloom and to thrive. I just want to say congratulations to Ron Bate, congratulations to the city of Newark, congratulations to our great mayor, and congratulations most importantly to all of the residents of the city of Newark. We knew this was possible, we were just waiting, and now it's happening. Congratulations.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker is, of course, the councilman of the Central Ward, who is continuously, advocating for projects of this magnitude and a concept that resembles that of the mayor's vision, and that is Councilwoman Jenkins Cheneyfield.
Now, Carmela, I'm the one suffering from jet lag. You got that all wrong. It's Cheneyfield Jenkins. But listen, to Mayor Ras J. Baraka, as you stated, the city of Newark, we're doing the things that people thought could not be done. but should be done and have to be done. And on behalf of the City Council and on behalf of pioneers like Ron Bate, who is putting together images, facilities, realities that people who, Senator Ruiz, you said 40-something years. Let's try 50-something years. And remembering what this neighborhood looked like. And that is the beauty of what we're doing here in the city of Newark. With the overdevelopment that's going on, it's not enough. Because we're replacing things that used to be there. We're replacing things that have to be there. But most importantly, we're replacing things that people are saying, what used to be there? And that's a good thing. Because now we're giving you a new vision, a new insight to what a city's supposed to look like, what a downtown is supposed to look like, and it's going into the neighborhoods, it's going throughout the entire city. But most importantly, it's such great quality that people are fighting to get in. And that's a good thing, because you don't want people fighting to get out of your city. You want people fighting to get into your city. But most importantly, you want people to understand that when you put together these kind of capital stack decks, and it takes a long time, that it's a partnership, that there's affirmative action, that there's people who are willing to sacrifice, but most importantly, there is opportunity, and that's what the city of Newark has always represented, opportunity, and the opportunity is going forward and expanding. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cheney Field Jenkins. Our next speaker, of course, as the mayor touted, none of this is possible without the partnerships between local, state, county, and of course these amazing agencies like the Economic Development Authority. So I'm asking Melissa Orson, CEO of New Jersey's EDA, please to come up.
Thank you so much. It is incredible to be here in this courtyard and hear and see the children walking by. This is better than I could have imagined. So the EDA, as every speaker before me has talked about, has enjoyed the collaboration of a multitude of talented and dedicated people at all levels as Teachers Village has advanced. From Ron Bate and his team to the city and the county, the senator and the assemblywoman, and a host of others who fully appreciate what it takes to complete a community from the ground up. We thank you for your generous and supportive spirit of collaboration. I would like to note that Al Coppi, the EDA's late board chairman, who was a mentor and a friend to so many of us all, was particularly excited about this project. As we all know, he was a steadfast champion for his beloved city of Newark, so it makes this especially special for us. Teachers Village is a model of holistic community development, offering every convenience people could wish for today. This project exemplifies the impact of investment and development centered around urban transit centers and the immeasurable long-term value of education. While this community represents hundreds of millions of dollars in combined public and private investment, its impact over time of its residents will be infinite. Thank you for your passion, your hope, and your vision for the next generation and the many that will follow. Thanks.
Thank you, Melissa. And now, of course, the individual and the man of the moment who was visionary, had the courage to say, I want to do a project that invests $150 million in the great city of Newark, hundreds of units, starting with the concept of education in mind and putting forth a national model, which is what we tout across the board. That is Ron Bates.
I think it's still morning. We're getting into afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. This is an exciting moment. It really is. I used to, exactly where you're sitting, used to jump up and down with pretty pictures on a broken surface parking lot, looking out at a sea of other parking lots. And I had a vision for this neighborhood, and this is it. This is it. We're here. We're finishing today the 6th and final building of this project. $400,000 square feet, $150 million development in 6 buildings. And we started here in February. So I want to correct the timelines here. Everyone talks about decades. Yeah, we talked about development for a decade here, but we started construction here in February 2012 on a very cold afternoon. And 5 years later, we're looking at 6 separate buildings here. Today, we have 204 apartments, over 300 residents living here, 70% of which are educators here in the city of Newark, and other local schools, but mostly independent school, district schools, and charter schools here in Newark. We have 4 different schools here, new schools, home to over 1,000 children. And we have retailers opening up every day. We have Closet Savvy, we have Krausers, we have Provident Bank, we have Bella Nails, Tony's Mini Cupcakes, and much, much more on the way. In fact, where you're sitting here, retailers are going to be opening up into this piazza, which was also a later idea. And behind me, there's going to be an extremely innovative educational space to be announced later this year. But what's really happening is that we have teachers and we have residents coming from all over the country to come live in Newark. People from Atlanta choosing to come to Newark. They had a choice to go to schools across the country, any school they wanted to go across the country in the Uncommon and North Star system, and they chose from Atlanta. They chose Newark because of Teachers Village. We have teachers playing basketball in the gym up there on the weekends, exchanging ideas. And that was what this vision was about. The residents are visiting cultural institutions and other entertainment in the city. And we have now, down the street, numerous other establishments from other developments now here to serve those residents. But when we started here in February 2012, we had, just about 5 year ago, we had one of the buildings financed, the building behind you financed, and we started. We then, in the next 5 years, completed 5 additional buildings and had to finance 5 additional buildings. That simply doesn't happen without the public-private partnerships that we had here. And I know we talk about public-private partnerships a lot to make these things happen, but I don't think people quite understand what that means and the level of complexity. It's one thing getting to a financial closing, which is very difficult in and of itself, especially when you're closing on a project that's a 6-building, $150 million project, and one of the buildings are financed. Right? So there's these leap of faith that only happen with the public-private partnerships. But when you're in the thick of it and you're building a 6-building coming out of the ground on 6 different sites, and you have the construction issues and you have all the issues that come about in building these things, let alone in a neighborhood that hasn't seen this kind of development. These are the first residential buildings to have been built in over 40 years, ground up in the downtown. And so you have these complex issues that's not just a function of dealing with one bank or dealing with a partner. You have a multiple of layers, and everyone has to be rowing in the same direction. And in that regard, there's so many people to thank. I honestly, I'm afraid I'm going to miss it. I mean, it starts with the investment officers, to the CEO of these departments, to credit officers that are making leaps of faith. There's so many people involved with this. We have our environmental consultants. I know Mike McGowan is here. Our attorneys, Bill Fiore and Scott McCleary, who are working on the transactions where up until the day of closing, we had title issues with this stuff that we're trying to figure out. Textbooks, legal textbooks could be written on the stuff that we saw here. And it goes on and on. But, truly, the forces behind a project like this, it doesn't happen without the likes of the Goldman Sachs Urban Investment Group. Goldman Sachs Urban Investment Group started with an $8 million pre-development loan here. It became a $100 million investment in Teachers Village, which became, I think, almost $500 million investment in Newark. That's the type of partner Goldman Sachs is. They came in, they jumped in, and they got this over the finish line. Prudential. We all know Prudential here in Newark. They're in every development in this, every development in this city. They've been in every development in this city for the last, I don't know, 10 decades. They've been an unbelievable partner that understood the quality and the need for this project, and it doesn't happen without them. Without my partners, Nicholas Bergruen, Fred Eisman, Warren Lichtenstein, and Jeff Gould at BRT, this project doesn't happen. And then you get to sort of the public side, which is, it's just unbelievable. This is a model for this country. I don't know how else to say it. I've said it numerous times, but there's no other way to put it. Where you have city working with state, and you have multiple agencies within the city and multiple agencies with the state. And then you have a project that leaps tenures or terms. So you have Senator Booker starting as mayor of this project and pushing this forward. And then the day this mayor, Ras Baraka, comes into town, gets elected, gets inaugurated, the day of his inauguration. I don't think it's happened in the history of Newark, where we were closing on this building behind us, and the council called a special meeting with the mayor. We had to get an approval from one of the lenders. They called it that day. It was the first day of and without hesitation. That's what this community is about. That's what gets these projects done. And that's why New Jersey's been able to do it. Under here in the city, Mayor Ras Baraka, the council, we have Councilwoman Crump here today, and we have, I don't want to mess up, Cheneyfield Jenkins. I got it the right order. Jenkins Cheneyfield. I'll tell you right now. And Councilwoman Crump and Councilman Gonzalez here, and Carmela Garcia. Welcome to Deputy Mayor, but he's been here, and we had Baye Wilson before him, and we had Adam Zipkin and Stephen Pryor before them as deputy mayors, and NCEDC, Aisha and Carmelo before then. Unbelievable. But I'd be remiss to not stop for a moment with NJEDA. We're talking about going after Amazon in this state. With a partner like NJEDA, I'll put us up against anyone in the country. This organization is really truly unique in the way it works with city government, in the way it comes up with creative ideas. Now run by Melissa, who again, streaming terms, or Karen Franzini, a dear friend who had understood the vision, and really Al Capi, who was a champion of this city and who we miss so dearly, and I wish so much that they would be here with us today. They were champions, and I really wish they could see what happened here. And then, but again, Melissa jumping in and taking over the reins and pushing forward with projects from previous terms, and Tim Lazura, who's just been the continuous force in that organization. And just the way they work like an investment bank behind the scenes when we're closing these things. Leah, I mean, you can attest to how fast NJEDA worked here. Like, when you're talking about working with the likes of Goldman and Prudential, these city agencies could work with anyone, and it's really incredible. And then we go to Essex County, Joseph DiVincenzo and Senator Ruiz, and Assemblywoman Pinto Maria. It's just, we're all rowing in the same direction. And we had I'd be remiss not to thank the rest of the lenders in this capital stack too. TD Bank, National Community Investment Trust, Deutsche Bank, who's here in full force today. Thank you for coming to Newark. JP Morgan Chase, Carver Federal Savings Bank, the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority down in South Jersey and Atlantic City made an investment here in Newark. And so many to thank, But I want to end with, I know we're tight on time here, I want to end with a few things. One, we felt when we built this project, we had to build a project of scale and we had to build a project of quality. We needed scale because we had to build this community overnight. We were looking at 92% surface parking lot. But we had to build of quality, and hence why we brought in teams like Richard Meyer to design 4 of the 6 buildings and KSS Architects out of Princeton to develop the other 2 buildings. But we had to build of quality because we wanted to set the tone for future development. And you don't have to look much farther than down the road. I encourage everyone to take a ride down the road to look at the quality of the buildings. The Haynes building just won an ULI award. The quality of the Prudential Tower and Panasonic and the building Carl Tranoff is building and the quality of buildings and Mark Burson's building with Amazon and Audible rather. I'm already jumping the gun that we got Amazon already. With Audible, an Amazon subsidiary. And the quality of the projects that Ben wants to build here, that was the idea here, to set a bar in terms of the quality of development that we're developing here. And Vivian, I can't wait to show them our Four Corners building in just a short few weeks, and our Four Corners project. More to come on that here in downtown Newark. But beyond that, we also had a global vision. So it was quality for the future of this market, but also a vision, a real vision for Newark that was global in scale, in quality. We really felt that if we're going to do this, that we should aim to become the 21st century city. And in that regard, we set out to do something of the community and for the community. Teachers Village. A goal was to have 70% teachers living in our community, and we hit that goal, 70%, so that we can recruit and retain the best teachers for the children of Newark. We had a goal of hiring locally and meeting all our hiring requirements from the city, and we exceeded them. We created 400,000 total project hours of labor for this project. But we also created a model. A national model in doing something for and of the community, and in this Teachers Village model concept, we are breaking ground as we speak in Hartford, Connecticut. We're making our way through entitlements in Chicago. We have requests from cities and municipalities, the largest cities in this country, asking us what we did here in Newark. And that's a national model. And we're here. We're going to be making more of these models. We're building one right now. We're building right down the street the Rutgers Honors Living Learning College with our friends at Rutgers, building a national model in how a university reaches out to its community and builds schools for its community and recruits within its community. And so new models to come here in the city of Newark, and we're really, really pleased to be here. This part, I do want to, there will be others talking about this, but I do want to talk about the dedication of the space that you're in. This space is being dedicated to Jabari Henderson, who was an investment officer with the AFL-CIO Housing Investment Trust. He was a young man with unbelievable vision, an unbelievable entrepreneur, and he passed way before his time. But not without leaving his imprint. I have to tell you, when you're running around with pretty pictures on broken surface parking lots with dilapidated buildings still standing, you need people that have vision. You need the first people to start buying in. And I'll never forget walking Jabari here, walking the whole AFL-CIO Housing Investment Trust through this neighborhood, and when they decided to commit their new market tax credit allocation for this project, it was game-changing for us. It started to galvanize all the other partners and so forth. And so the dedication, Carol's going to talk more about Jabari. He was a dear friend. He's someone I think about a lot, and this piazza is being dedicated to him. I mentioned our friends Karen and Al. I got it. They were. Al, I called my counselor. He was a steadfast believer in this project, believer in this city. He had a unique ability of bringing people together, and he created a culture of that. And so, I'm really, it really, truly, in the sense we say this a lot, but this was truly. A village that took a village to build. And thank you.
Thank you, Ron, because this is an incredible project and phase one of SOMA. So if you don't know about SOMA, definitely look into it because as Ron touted, some of the other projects that are lined up in the pipeline. And with that, our next speaker is Dr. Irene Hall, school leader of the Discovery Charter School and resident here at Teachers Village.
Good afternoon. I am a proud resident of Teachers Village. My apartment is right over on Maiden Lane. And my school, Discovery Charter School, which is a one-room schoolhouse model, is right over there. So my commute is fabulous. I do have a traffic jam every now and then, though, and it's the kindergartners lined up to go into Spark. So that is a very pleasurable traffic jam. So I'm really honored to be asked to speak and celebrate this with my friend Ron Bate, who's always been there for the kids. And Mr. Mayor, I've been wanting to tell you something for a few months, so I'm going to take this time to tell you. I'm a huge fan of yours. I appreciate your humility and your strength and your efforts to welcome all of these new exciting developments in Newark. And this is the important part, include the Newark residents in the process. I also appreciate, Mr. Mayor, the fact that you were an educator in public schools. And I mean, I haven't heard all the politicians talk about education, but when you talk about education, Mr. Mayor, you know what you're talking about. And anything I can do to help, please call on me. You're welcome. So thank you to all of you who made this possible. And thank you for my beautiful home, our little school, and for taking care of Newark's wonderful children and families. And you're welcome to visit our school anytime. My apartment, not so much. So have a good afternoon.
Thank you. And our next speaker, who is the Vice President of the AFL-CIO Housing Investment Trust, as Ron noted, this space is being honored, dedicated to Jabari Henderson Brown's family and himself. So, Carol Nixon, please come up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Garcia, and good afternoon. I'd like to take a moment to thank Ron. I'd like to take a moment to thank Ron and the RBH team. I'd like to take a moment, is that better? Yeah. I'd like to take a moment to thank Ron and the RBH team and all the lenders, investors, state and local officials that made the development at Teachers Village possible. The investment officer for the AFL-CIO Housing Investment Trust subsidiary, Building America, was a young man by the name of Jabari Henderson Brown. He was 33 years old when he passed away in 2014 after a 20-month courageous battle with cancer. Jabari, born and raised in New York City, was a graduate of Stuyvesant High School. He received his undergraduate degree in economics from the University of Maryland, College Park, and received his MBA from the University of Southern California. As Steve Coyle, the CEO of The Hit said, Jabari should be remembered for how he lived. He was a spirited young man with a keen intellect, a mastery of finance and real estate development well beyond his years. He spoke his mind and had a profound sense of irony about his world. He carried a deep commitment to his community, an abiding faith in the possible, an abiding faith in the possible. Jabari was a consummate New Yorker, knew about his city that he loved. No matter what neighborhood he was in, He could always provide you with history about the community, where to get something good to eat, and who was developing in the neighborhood. When the proposal for Teachers Village came to our office, Jabari was determined that Building America invest in the project. And looking back, Jabari, who grew up with his father, Carlton, who was an architect and a partner in a leading development company who specialized in mixed income housing and emerging markets, and his mother, Akua, who was a New York City public school teacher. This development was his focus naturally. At first glance, Jabari was committed, and he would not take no for an answer. First, he had to get me on board, and together, we had to convince our CEO that Teachers Village was possible. Quite frankly, oftentimes, it's not easy to turn around a $6 billion ocean liner in a new direction. However, Jabari did something that only a young person can really do. He reminded us of our mission, our beginnings. At the Housing Investment Trust, our organization came about after a meeting in 1961 between Dr. Martin Luther King and George Meany, then president of the AFL-CIO. They talked about how to use pension dollars to improve communities through investing in housing, using these investments for social angle, from the practical and economic angle, to create communities where families can grow and can educate their children. Sounds like these leaders envisioned Teachers Village. Since our very first site visits back in 2009, when Jabari came to us as a newly minted MBA, I would ask him when we visited the HIT Investments, would you live here? It was my way of asking the question, could we as investment officers see ourselves or our families living in the housing that we were investing in and building? This is my check to make sure we were doing it right. On our last visit to Teachers Village in the summer of 2014, on the nearly completed 5th phase, Jabari looked out over this new neighborhood with such pride. I asked Jabari, as always, would you live here? He said, Carol, this does not exist in New York City. This is something new. Something new. Thank you for Jabari for your abiding faith in the possible. My prayer for the Jabari Henderson Brown Piazza is that this is a new space, will be an area for decades to come where people of all walks of life, members of the community, educators, students, business leaders will come together and exchange their ideas. A place where people believe that change is not only possible, but likely if you do it right. I would like to ask Jabari's family to join me as we designate this space. Okay. Christian Smith, Jabari's wife. Charleston Jabari, Jabari's son, Carlton Brown. Akua Henderson Brown. Zakia Henderson Brown. Marquessa Brown. His aunt, Jamil and Helena Thorne, his cousins, and Gabriel Diaz, his best friend.
So we have another, acknowledgement this afternoon. But before we do that, and I knew I told you I was going to forget people. You always hurt the people that are closest to you. I forgot to thank my team, the team that's closest to me. And my team is really, putting aside the RBH team in Antonio and Linda and Clarice and Donna and Mac and Paul and who am I missing? Deborah, my team, Alyssa. We are a team in the truest sense. We are running in 100 different directions, but always in the same. And I can't thank you guys enough. We're friends. We see each other every day. We work long hours. My team is so incredible. And beyond the RBH team, we have an extension. We have a family, extended family, in Chris Johnson from Hollister, who built 4 of these buildings, and Doug Phelps from Phelps Construction, who built 2 of these buildings, and attorneys up the wazoo. We have Scott Singer from Singer and Bassick, who's counselor to me on everything, and then the list goes on. And so, I hope I didn't leave anyone else out this time, but my team, thank you very much. And so another really interesting aspect of this afternoon is that the building that formerly occupied 1719 William was originally slated to be a rehabilitation when we started this project. It proved we couldn't revitalize. The constitution of the contract was failing. It had been open to the elements and the increment weather for decades, and we could not rehab it. And so it wound up having to be demolished. But the historic significance of that building, even though it didn't retain any of its historic attributes in terms of its physical beauty, is that Bill Wilson wrote the 12-step program for Alcoholics Anonymous here right upstairs on this site here. And so, again, sort of the historic nature of where we're building. And so we're here to acknowledge them as well. I'm going to introduce Patricia, who from the beginning sort of flagged it and said, this is a really important site. We want to be part of this. And we're really excited to have a plaque that will memorialize the historic event that occurred here, and so that people from across the country and around the world who've benefited from the amazing work that happened right here on this site can enjoy it. And this is just a new beginning of more incredible work to happen on the very land that we built on. So Patricia, please come and join us. Thank you.
I'm Pat Reel, and I'm here to represent the Works Project. But first of all, I don't know whether it was appropriate to hug him or not, but anyway, I have to say, this is amazing. I want to congratulate you on this. That's not a lot coming from me, but this is amazing. There's such a story around this, and I had a prepared speech, but I think I'm going to scrub it and just talk about it. I'm here as a representative of the Works Project. The Works Project was an organization put together. We met the first time in 1997 on a cold winter night at the Parsippany Hilton to talk about an auction notice that had appeared in the Star Ledger that the Calumet building was going up for auction. Now, I'm very tenacious, they call me. So what I did was, I got on the phone with the city and, talk about money. At that point, it was a few million. Oh, my goodness. We couldn't have looked at the billion. But anyway, we met on a constant basis over the years. And there's some of the members of that group have passed away. But I would like to recognize the ones that are here today, ask them just to stand so you can see that they were part of all of this, okay? It wasn't just me, but a 20-year project in the making. Well, anyway, so we met every month for a long, long time, and then everything went quiet. And somebody came forward for us and introduced us to Ron Bitt. And that was, I guess, about a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And we came up here and we talked to him about the project and what we needed to look at, that memorializing the building was very important to this group. The big book was written here. We call it the big book. The book Alcoholics Anonymous was written here in the 1930s on the 6th floor of an office called Honest Dealers, which was the office of Hank Parkhurst. And I noticed coming in today there was a street named Parkhurst. So I guess he was a little famous here. But anyway, his secretary, Ruth Hawk, began to put the experiences on paper of the members of a fledgling society of recovering alcoholics. And Bill would travel from Clinton Street, Brooklyn at his home, and he would come into Newark with the manuscript, and they would put this book together, which later became the book Alcoholics Anonymous, which the program later took its name. And so that's a little bit of history. In 1939, the book was published, and the guiding principles of this book have been, I don't want to use the word right, an example to other self-help movements across the world, the United States and the world. But most of all, it has saved thousands of lives and will continue to do so over the years. So in the meantime, I just want to say, if it wasn't for Ron Bitt and the fact that he listened to our dream, we would not have been able to fulfill this 20-year project for us. We couldn't put the money into the building because we couldn't raise that money, but he did it for us. And I have to tell you, I am completely overwhelmed at the figures he threw out today and the amount of sharing in the community and public sector that has gone on for this project. But I have to say one more thing. I passed the building sometime in the 90s, maybe early 2000s. We walked the building actually on a hot August day to see the 6th floor up to the top. It was very hot. It was August or July, and it was 100 degrees. And there were trees growing out of the top of the roof from weeds that had laid there. So from weeds grew these trees. Now, I don't know whether Ron ever saw those trees, but what it represented to me at the time was there's plenty of life in that building left, plenty of spirit, and that certainly shows today. Thank you for your time.
Ron just wants to thank a few more people, and then we're going to conclude.
Sorry, I told you it was a long list. And again, in the spirit of those close to me, I really would be remiss to not acknowledge two forces of energy that I probably talk to on a daily basis that coordinate on so many different fronts. Dudley Ryan and Christian Benedetto, thank you so much for everything you do on a daily basis from the original vision. I really thank you. And I also want to thank Brittany Timberlake, freeholder of Essex County, who's representing Phil Murphy, for joining us today. Thank you so much, and we look forward to continued leadership in this state that's exemplary and a model for this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. We are grateful to you for joining us. One last acknowledgement to the guitar student, David Castillo from Newark School of Arts. And one fun fact, Mayor, 40% of the original residents were Newarkers, and now 100% are all Newarkers, which is what we love the most, because that's what this project embodies: live, learn, work, play. We thank you. Have a great day, and God bless.